Imagine this. You and your brother one day had the dream of creating quality entertainment together for people worldwide. This eventually led you to creating a YouTube channel that was composed of 3D animated music videos that was made by you and the help of your brother. In 2015, you both eventually created your own company that still had the same goal as you did before. This company was called Mob Games, and both you and your brother wanted to create a multi-year plan in developing a game. This game was named Playtime and was made in 2021. It received many positive reviews from social media and even made its own plushies, costumes, and more chapters of the game, which still isn't finished. However, this game we're going to talk about isn't Playtime, but rather the multiplayer game that came from it. This is Buff Ben, and today we're going to get into what really happened to Project Playtime. Remember to like and subscribe, and let's get into it. Project Playtime came out on December 12, 2022, and it was initially teased in October of 2022 by secret images that Mob Games released into the public. The reason why this game was made actually wasn't because Mob Entertainment wanted more money, but rather because they were taking so long with Playtime's chapters. Fans were getting restless for more content, and the studio still wanted to keep the fans happy while they were busy with the original story. So that's how Project Playtime came to be. As expected, when it came out, it was a buggy mess since Mob Games had too much to deal with on their plate. But surprisingly, the fans actually enjoyed the game. It had the potential to become something really fun in a scary spin-off multiplayer game like Dead by Daylight. But the funny thing is releasing Project Playtime ironically made the way for chapters longer, which was exactly what Mob Games wasn't trying to do. They kinda speedran things, but it would have been so much better if they took their time with it to properly test the game. They also had to stop crashes daily and maintain the player base on Project Playtime with such a small team. But fans were still eager to play the game, and they somehow had to develop two games at the same time. Project Playtime has notoriously the worst update schedule ever. In fact, there's only about 3 big updates they've made on the game. Every other update was just a late season event. After the initial launch of the game, which was by the way delayed by 1 week, so it wasn't supposed to launch on December 12th, but rather on the 6th, Mob Games decided to not update the game at all for 5 months, which is absolutely terrible for a multiplayer online game which thrives on consistent updates. Eventually, after nothing happened for quite some time, on May 31st, 2023, the game finally received its first update after its release. However, somehow, this update still sucked and wasn't nearly as good as it should have been. Since it already took them 5 months to bring the update, barely no one played it since the player base declined that badly. And even if there were players to play the update, it still wouldn't be enough. In this update called Incineration, which was Phase 2 of Project Playtime, it only provided players with a couple of bug fixes, 1 brand new map, and 0 new monsters to run away or play from. And the sad part is, it didn't even fix the main problems with the game. Lagging was almost a definite, or at least encountering a bug during the game was inevitable. Game mechanics would sometimes not work, or just feel clunky. And somehow, they didn't introduce any more cosmetics to the game with this update, which was the least they could do. After this, many fans left the game, and nobody knew if Mob Games were leaving it entirely, or if it was just dead now. Either way, it was too little too late, and it only goes down from here. The next update, which is actually the last real update Project Playtime got, was released on October 25th, 2023. Another 5-month gap between updates. This clearly wasn't the way to go, but maybe they somehow revived the game by adding a lot to this update. Firstly, they went and actually completely changed the way Project Playtime worked, basically reworking or scrapping everything that the original community played on. After this, it was like a whole new game, except it lacked 3 things: cosmetics, monsters, and maps. Unfortunately, only 1 map was given in this update, and still the developers lacked the ability to release another monster or interesting cosmetics to the game that players were waiting so long for. At least the players that were somehow still playing the game after all this time. It was a lot, but it could have been more, especially sooner. Maybe they could have made their team bigger to help with these long waits and updates, but sadly, this was actually the last update given to players before everything truly went silent. I mean, sure, there were a couple of small updates, but that was really it. The next update came out 1 day after Phase 3, and it was just a hotfix. After that, the game still hasn't received an update since October 26, 2023. The game, although technically not completely dead, definitely is buried deep in the ground with only 200 to 300 players playing daily. In truth, Project Playtime could have been something unexpected, but what the fans really wanted. It just sucked that it turned out the way it was. Although Poppy Playtime did only receive 2 big updates to the game as a whole, it still had its seasonal events. Let's just cover them real quick. The first season event was Christmas and started in December 2022 to early 2023. This update brought a lot more excitement and cosmetics to the game like the fans wanted. They changed the map, the monsters, and did everything like Fortnite or Dead by Daylight would. The only problem was that besides that, no game mechanics were changed and there wasn't even a limited time mode. So the excitement died down pretty quickly. The second seasonal event was Easter, and it started sometime in the spring of 2023. Instead of no challenges like last time, Easter lets the players find eggs around the map after finding them. They would be rewarded with cosmetics. It also changed the map like last time, being spring themed. But other than that, they still needed to do more in these updates or nobody was going to play them for long. Finally, the last seasonal event was Halloween and it began in October of 2023. This event is special because it's actually the last event that ever happened before Project went silent. Like before, it followed its predecessors, having cosmetics, map changes, but no real game mechanic changes or limited time modes. Overall, these updates were just as bad as the big ones before and it clearly shows how mob games didn't put enough effort into the game. First of all, updates were an evident problem. Just releasing a few skins here and there would have been enough for the community, or at least most of the community, from going away. It's also probably the easiest thing an online game can do. You could even make simple cosmetics like just changing colors on a character or adding a hat. Secondly, they didn't have to release the game. Many fans would have understood that they needed time and would eventually deliver chapters of the original game to them once they were ready. It may have been even worse that they made Project Playtime, since even making the game slowed down the process of the main game, Poppy Playtime. Thirdly, even when the updates did come out, they sucked. They should have had a lot more content with them, not just one map and a couple of bug fixes. Lastly, they really should have just had another team to work on the game. I feel like they put way too much pressure on themselves, and if they just let another studio help them, the game would have surely achieved, but I guess it's all over now. There's only one game that I didn't mention that also came out while Poppy Playtime was having difficulties with releasing chapters. That game is Poppy Playtime Forever. This game wasn't included in the original script since it was just a mobile game to further push the Poppy brand into social media. It wasn't that special, so I didn't add it. As a whole of the franchise, we are still waiting for the final chapter of Poppy's Playtime, and I know it will be an amazing conclusion even though Project Playtime was a disaster. In conclusion, Project Playtime, although it was never necessarily planned, could have been an amazing game if mod games had more time, people, and consistency to make it a proper online game. What did we learn? That Project Playtime could have been something but turned out to be nothing due to bad support of the game as a whole. This is the end of the video. Remember to like and subscribe and visit my other content. I post daily and this will not be the last of these videos. I also thank all of you who are viewing the video and actually subscribing and liking. I've been noticing that it has been going up recently and I actually love you guys for that. This is Buff Ben and I will see you guys next time. See ya.